back.
Hope we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
Okay. So, you know, their advantages are lower cost for marginally less, say 20 to 30%, 20% I would say less than a conventional home to be in a a mobile home, square footage to square footage. So your actual cost are 20% upfront cost, and and you're at 30%, maybe 20% less rent. You start seeing the math of it all. If you're intending to keep and not mortgage, then a mobile home as a rental is by far a better choice. Cabinets will eventually have to be replaced, but you know what? You got low cost in. Just plan on that. Whenever they tear those cabinets up, you're going to put more in. And guess what? I run into those kind of things where when the people are so upset with their renters because there's one door missing, they can't match it. They can't match that door to any of the rest of their cabinets. So, you end up trying to convince some cabinet maker to make one custom one, and then it doesn't match in color. It's so frustrating that the people that want that perfect home that they really set out to rent to a very good person turned out not to be a good person, and the door would be missing. So, that's not an unusual thing to have to replace cabinets in a rental. Now, are the cabinets the same cost? Pretty close. You just don't spend as much money on a mobile home as you would on a house because you're not really required to. But you can spend about the same. But the upfront costs are still, $50,000 for the double wide, or probably closer to 30, 35 for a single wide, a big single wide, and your rent is only 30% less per square foot, maybe 20% less. Yeah, I don't think it's that much either. But I'm trying to be. So what I'm trying to say is, you're in for 55 over here to put on a place with utilities, and the house costs 150 to have it built. Okay, so you're $100,000 less. Can you get financing from the bank? Probably, but initially they're going to want to see you capable of making a good choices and have good renters, and say, okay, well, we'll give you a business loan because you're showing a history. But up front, no, probably not. They don't want to invest with so many people that set out to do so and did set a bad example. Yeah. But if you're someone who has money that wants to start getting into rentals, why wouldn't you think of mobile homes and just say there's no retreat? We're going to spend the money. And then there's a mathematical figure on how much we're going to replace every time somebody moves out. You don't take all the rent money and spend it on, your budget to pay the place off. Although you could pay more than what your payment is and save yourself a ton of money. Check into that. It's the same with cars. If you pay more than your payment, say 15%, 20% more than what your payment is, you save a ton of money because you're not paying as much interest. I mean, a lot of money. Just check into it. But now, instead of doing that, how about you make sure that you keep some money set aside for repairs? You should do that with any kind of rental. Any kind.
I think when I did the business thing, that it was you were supposed to figure 2 months of your rent for each rental as upkeep.
Right. So, I've had a lot of discussion with that. I'm actually working for a couple that their belief is that mobile homes are just not worth it. They'd rather just rent the lots for the mobile homes. And the idea is that the lot has less maintenance than the mobile home, less cost. But that's not always the case. Like right now, I'm working on sewer lines to go up the top of a hill, 500 feet, 90 feet higher, and putting in new sewer lines to get to the field lines because something interrupted those, and we don't know where the old ones are. So there's a great expense. How about a water line that busts in the ground? You don't know where. Well, you call the plumbers up, or even just specialized people that all they do is find the leaks. They want $800 up front, and then they have a minimum of, I think it's $450 up front with a minimum of cost of 2 hours at $400 an hour. So you're at $1,200 just to find the leak, or pay somebody to go ahead and put a new line in. Does that happen? Yes, because I'm the guy that puts it in. Okay. How about the breaker quit working on the panel that supplies the house? 100 amp, $30, $40, $50. My labor, $200 to go see what it is, what type it is. Go to the store, come back, put it in.
Now, when you're talking about rentals, if you can fix your own rentals,
oh, it's massive. Massive.
Yeah, that's a massive difference on your bottom line.
I cannot stress how elaborate things can be if you let somebody else just tell you what they're going to charge. It's hard to find somebody that you can trust. It truly is, and that's probably the way it should be. Once you find somebody you trust, don't mistreat them. I don't care how bad your situation is. Do not mistreat them. They're the way for you. They're like the only tow truck in the area. Don't mistreat that tow truck driver if he's any good. Anyway, so one of the things you would think about is if I'm renting. So I just don't. I've seen a lot of renters, landowners, that both in houses and mobile homes. It's really hard on mobile homes, but they just say, I'm not going to fix anything. I'm just going to rent the way it is. My experience with working on those houses and my own is the fancier you make your home, the nicer you make your home, the better they treat it. Is that guaranteed? No. But if you do not treat that house very well, I promise you they won't treat it any better. It's just the way it is. So I would lend towards spending to make a nice place.
Diane was asking, have you been out to her house and see what her house looks like now?
Who?
Diane Woods. Have you been over where her house
is? Yeah, it looks beautiful. She's got new owners. I actually took pictures. I think I did. I'll have to see.
Well, baby, if you took pictures, it's on my computer. It's not on yours anymore. Because I always take them off yours.
They really did a good job. The new owners of I don't think it's the ones that you sold to. It's the people that lived there, kind of trashed the place out. They don't have a fence there anymore, and really did nice on the colors. Built new deck on the back, and I don't think they needed to do that, but that's what they did. Did a good job on the colors though. It's got seems like a orangey trim and a kind of a green. It's unusual, like a burnt orange and a brown green base color on it looks really good. It would make you feel better if you saw that instead of what I told you it was rough, or maybe your neighbors told you that used to be your neighbors. Did a good job. That property out there is so close to the lake, that's worth a lot of money now. And even though you don't own the land, the house is worth quite a lot. So it's just the way things are. And by the way, Diane's house is a big double wide.
It's a cute house.
It is. And course, there is a game that some of your buyers play. Is they go and make an offer, and then they say, hey, I'm going to get a home inspection. When they get the home inspection, they come back and say, oh, look at all these things. I beat you down on the price over here, but now I found all these things are wrong, so we need to deduct the value of repairing those things off of the low price I gave you to begin with. So you're getting double hit by that buyer. It's a game they play. They find a home inspector that's their guy. This a guy that maybe not necessarily influenced by them, but they know he just picks at everything and finds everything he can possibly, even make stuff up. Okay, and Diane went through that. And I
beat the inspector at 4.
Yeah, he was trying to say that even though he wasn't an engineer that needed to be an engineer that countermanded him or disagreed with him. But all the things that he said that needed to be fixed didn't take much to fix, even though he expected it to be a lot. So anyway, that's not the first time that I dealt with that. I dealt with it over and over again. And honestly, one of the customers that I dealt with in that situation, there was a couple that owned it from Louisiana, and they were trying to get out of this historic home because they just didn't want to do the work. They wanted to move into a place where they could, like an apartment complex where they didn't have any work, and he had disability and she had a small job. They just wanted it predictable. They didn't want any more problems. So they met me as a repair person to fix those things on an inexpensive manner. Then they met me because I knew the realtor that they had, and they were saying, man, what do we do? This couple is wanting to do a home inspection. I said, have them give an offer after the home inspection, not before the home inspection. And they did. They gave them an offer after the home inspection, and they accepted the offer. And guess what? That couple hired me and they hired me. I've been working for them for years and years and years. So what I would suggest to you is that mobile homes' enemies are wet floors from appliances and plumbing, and roof damage, water running down the walls and hitting the floors, water running through the ceiling and getting into through the roof and getting into the ceiling. So there are certain things that you need to look for when you start saying, okay, I got this ready to rent. It's kind of adding up to that. If you are somebody that is a little more financially independent, you can get rentals that are like in our area. If we had a double wide, it would rent for around $1,200, maybe more.
That's $300. Yeah, that's about right.
And we'd have
that's with no yard.
Yeah. So
that's like in town.
In town a house would be that big would be about $1,500. So $300 difference, but the cost to buy the double wide and put it on our property, which we already have. But let's say you had to improve the property, would you might be $80,000 in instead of $175,000, $200,000. So your payment, well, it wouldn't be much if you did it right for the double wide. Whereas if you took your money and bought you would buy half as much, or let's say you would spend half as much for the double wide and get 75% or more of the rent that you're getting for the conventional home. Does that make any sense to you? So your expenses are about the same. You would get more respect from a rental generally that is a conventional home. Not always. There are a lot of people out there that are professional at not paying rent. It's just a matter of falling into those people. If they have so a lot of people refuse to report on other people because they don't want to get sued for defamation. They just don't say anything bad about the rental, even though they did some horrible things to their rental property. Or they didn't pay rent. They just don't want to be sued for defamation. So, you know, the problems with rentals are the same with mobile homes as they are with housing. They just have different expenses. Mobile homes can be the same expense because you have different issues. But the difference is how much you have up in it, and so if you have less in it, your margin of actual profit is massive. If you're got a line of credit or a signature loan, or what, if you're able to get a loan from a bank for the business. So Small Business Administration does not want a loan on.
Oh, not on any rentals.
Not on any kind of rental for house or
no
mobile
property.
home.
Yeah, no property.
They want to do business, not that kind of business. Commercial business is what they shoot for. So when you talk about, you're going to have a good relationship with your bank. You're going to sit down and say, this is what we want to spend on this mobile home, and this is what we would spend on a conventional home. And we'll probably have to spend money improving it also. This is how much rent we're going to get, and this is how much we'll get with a double wide or a single wide. You're going to find out the math is way, way, way better with purchasing mobile homes as opposed to houses. I know I'm going to get arguments about that, and people who say that's not true. I've had bad experiences. But believe me, I have. Yeah, we've had bad experiences. But you have those people in just renting homes or apartments. I promise you, you have some really bad people out there. In all those categories. They have plenty of money. They still don't live right. So I don't wish to be argumentative, but I will say from my experience as the repairman, the margin, and Christina and I are working on a business plan, the margin of profit is nuts.
It is.
You're going to be way ahead.
The numbers are so insane that the bank would not believe it. And I went to 4 different banks.
Mm-hmm. It's too good to be true.
You have to understand, I spent hours obsessively building that. It was in a 3-inch, 3-ring binder.
Yeah, it's real thick.
And I covered every possible scenario.
Beautifully made, assisted by professionals. Still, they turned it down. Because they wanted to be invested into conventional homes, not mobile homes, because they have their own prejudice about what will happen. So you end up having to prove to them that your way is successful. You know how to get it done. Well, if you do that, then what do you need them for?
That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, that's where we're at. What do we need them for if we've already figured out the method? Just to speed things up so they can get us a
major cut.
Large portion of the profit. I suggest to you that in the future, just because mobile homes are a little bit cheaper and that makes rent cheaper, those are going to be more attractive than ever before. More attractive than ever before. Because inflation is outrunning wages. And for sure, inflation is outrunning Social Security. And I don't know if you have been looking into it, but Social Security in the next 7-8 years, maybe 9 years, that it could actually go bankrupt. I'm not saying as totally not pay, but I saw a video recently from Facts Matter, And
which is a good person to listen to.
Yeah.
Max Matter is awesome.
And it talks about all the numbers, and they're talking about that when it does, not if it does, when it does collapse, Social Security collapse because of all the things they're using it for besides what they're supposed to be using it for. You're looking at a 30% cut for those people on Social Security. 30%, not Medicare. 30% for the Social Security cut, not allowing for inflation in that time period. You know, we're going to go the other direction, 30% less than what you already had because it doesn't have it to pay. Now, another thing happens too is because there are less and less people paying into it because we're not, and I'm going to get in trouble with YouTube again, we are not having enough children born to pay the Social Security in that takes care of the people in the past. So the people in the past are larger than the ones paying in.
Not enough people are working too. Too many people are opting out of the system.
Yeah, so I'm not saying it's not going to be there at all. I'm saying it's going to be reduced. So attractive rent is going to be more, it's going to be cheaper. People that would just soon travel and see things and come back to a house occasionally, they're not going to want a big old house. Most people are not. Why would you want all that? How about this? I know of a guy in our area that has been doing what they call park models, and those things are like $45,000 to $60,000, and they're like just a little bit bigger than a camper. Maybe there's campers that are bigger than they are, and he's taking mobile home parks and putting those park models on, and filling them up with people that are elderly people. They don't want a big house, and they want to be around people their own age. So they just fill them up with these small park model houses, which cost $45,000 to $60,000. You see how silly?
Tiny houses.
They're small.
They don't require very much utilities. They're usually pretty well insulated.
They're low cost for the utilities. They usually try to make an arrangement for a nurse to be living there, so that nurse is they have access to that nurse. So there's enough profit to pay for a whole nurse to live there,
which is not cheap.
Right. And that's because these houses are smaller. They're selling the park models to the people. They take their whatever they had was either equity in a home, purchased a home, and then pay rent for the lot, which is like $400 a month to $600 a month. And that's all they got to pay. And they got somebody there to maintain the utilities, on staff people that, yeah, they don't have to mow the yards or nothing. And they have people their age all around them. Is that going to be something in the future? I think so. I think you're going to see, I have looked into it, taking portable buildings and turn them into little homes. In Florida, they are buying up old motels, and they do the same arrangement. People that are on very low Social Security payment can move into a motel room, and they get meals for very low cost. They have somebody making up their room every day, and that's all those people want. And then they go.
That's a new assisted living.
It's in a motel though.
That's how assisted living used to be.
Yes.
Until the healthcare got so bad that now you're having what used to be critical care patients, ICU patients in nursing homes.
Exactly. So, those people can live, and they can, in Florida, they can go out walking around. They don't have to be contained inside that motel room all their life. They can go see, different things. In Florida, the weather's way better for for bones that don't do well in cold weather. And they try to make arrangements for like buses to come by. Places like Walmart likes it. They're probably willing to pay for part of that bus to come pick somebody up, this group of people to go shopping at Walmart. So the bus takes them to Walmart or to the, so on.
Diane said that she misses her mobile home.
I'll have to see to it that you get pictures. I'm working over that way, very, very close, next door to that place. Silicon Valley Mobile Home Park. It's up against that place you were living. Um, so these people, I think in the future you're going to find that lower cost rent is, even if it's $300 less, is certainly going to make a difference.
I think you're going to see that with the perpetual bachelors and bachelorettes, that you're going to look at more pod housing situations where they have a room, and him and I've talked about this, where they like have a room, their internet, a bathroom, maybe a hot plate, and then a centralized kitchen.
Yeah, well, actually, what we talked about was like a community center where you have showers. Like you would do at a KOA back in the day, you would rent a cabin and take the showers, rent a space for your camper, and you hit the showers. So you would have showers and bathrooms and kitchens in a community area, so that if you want to have little gatherings where you play cards or anything, you could. But each one of those places are small with a little fence. You could have a little dog or something. But you wouldn't provide plumbing to these houses. It would be all around a community center that has all the plumbing in it. So you would have all these little communities. And I'll do some more work on describing that. What I suggest, though, is that people spend too much time on the internet or on the screen. But you know what? They can't afford to drive into town all the time and buy things all the time. Maybe they're just willing to work from a remote job on the internet, and they don't go anywhere. They just stay there.
Clay didn't. Clay stayed home.
Yeah.
You didn't even know he was home half the time.
Nope. So young people are very...
Unless he was on his headset cussing his game.
Addicted to the screens. And screen time's not good for us. But back in the day, we didn't have massive houses as a rule. It were very small houses.
If you had a massive house, you also had a massive family living there.
You had a maid that lived there to take care of you.
Well, not only that, but, it wasn't that long ago that great-grandma, grandma, mom, kids,
It was a family.
cousins.
So you would have a farm, and everybody worked together on the farm and that kind of thing. Like the Waltons, if you know that. What you're going to see more is affordable is going to be attractive. And if banks don't get a hold of it, it'll just be the end of them. There's already a lot of banks failing and nobody's talking about it. The news refused to let people know. So whoever's getting voted in next is going to hit the wall with a bunch of stuff. I hear that Medicare is going to be increased massively because they took Medicare money. The payment that they would have paid was, say, $30 will be $120 because they took that money and they gave it to other sources. That's just the administration that we're in. You will find out they delayed that cost until the middle of November, after the election. And I just check it and see. That cost is going to come. The Medicare cost that would cost you $30 is going to be up near $100 or $120. I'm going to get in trouble, but I don't talk here to not tell the truth. So what I'm trying to tell you is just if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong inside the next 3 weeks. That's what I'm seeing. So be prepared for that. That will affect whether or not people can stay in a larger home or a smaller home. And electric bills are going up faster than incomes are going up.
Way faster.
So as the electric bill goes up, that shrinks how much money you can spend on rent or in a bigger house. Groceries are going up, and that cannot come from anywhere but living area. You can't steal it from maybe entertainment. If you had a whole lot of extra money for entertainment, you could take it from entertainment. But most people don't have a whole lot of money for entertainment. In the Depression, one of the businesses that stayed going were movies.
She said that she went online to a real estate website and saw the tour of her house, lots of pictures, and she got to actually go through on an internet tour of the house.
Oh, so it does look better, I hope. It did to me when I drove by. So I think what we're going to see is that, and this is a hard, fast rule in the mobile home sales business. New mobile homes, new single wide is around 60,000, somewhere between 50 and 70, and there are different widths and different lengths. So I'm hearing they're going up to 80 for a single wide. And the carpet is, if you held the carpet up in the sunlight, you could see the sun through it. It's not blocking the sun. It's thinning it down. Everything in it's very low cost. It's stripped down as much as it can be. Now, double wides are at 100, and the lowest of the low is at 150 to 160,000. Stripped down, small, short, not as wide, but they go up to 250 and more. These are big, big houses that I'm talking about, and they.
It does look as comfortable as it used to. All very modernized.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money on it, and they probably got a lot of money for it. So what I'm saying is,
Does it look comfortable? That's what that was my first thought when she said modernized. That to me, that is just so not comfortable.
Yeah, modern's not comfortable. Yeah. Well, I mean, does an office feel like home?
No.
No. Does that medical room, that hospital room feel like home? No. So, but people that are into minimalism, where it's not, it's very clinical looking, and you just count on. Look at all this room I have because I have no furniture and no knickknacks. That's their style. I would suggest that portable buildings and little homes are going to be a big deal. I think mobile homes are going to be the mansions to step up to it. And I think that mobile home parks are going to be. I don't know one that's not full. So if you don't want to deal with the mobile homes themselves, I can promise you mobile home parks are going to be very, very busy.
We have people coming out randomly knocking on the door.
Right.
Randomly. Hey, you got any places to rent? No.
Right. I'm busy working on other people's properties that I can't work on my own.
Which is a problem.
Yeah, it's so maybe this winter. I'll probably pour into it this year before this year ends, and get a couple of them ready to roll, and then it'll take us on to another level. But
all the work that you did is now gone from her house.
Some of it, yeah, probably 50-60% of it. Some of the inside things, that had to be done. But you know what? The only thing that stays the same is everything changes. Are there odds that they're going to call me? Yeah. Because not just everybody works on mobile homes. How much money did they spend on that? Probably a lot. Because I didn't work on it.
She said her bathroom's gone.
Really? So they rearranged the bathroom, put in full-size bathtub somewhere? Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, Diane, but when the houses that I lived in when I was little, although they were home, they were not as fancy as the ones I live in now. The things that we didn't.
Not now.
Yeah, we didn't have phones that we carry around. We had remember the Rolodex?
Mm-hmm.
Keep everybody's number.
We actually have, oh my God, here at the shop, we have a huge old, like, enterprise Rolodex that
Big
we
one.
show to the young kids to freak them out.
Yeah, this is what you did before cell phones had everybody's number in it. You had to keep them in this Rolodex. Take that paper home and not lose it. Transfer it in. Before the internet, you had catalogs. Sears catalog. I don't know if you remember. I'm sure you do, Diane. They'd send them catalogs to you once a year. Montgomery Ward, Sears, J.C. Penney.
And you'd wear them out.
Right. So things change. It's up to us to decide where we're gonna fit in. I think that in the future, people will tend to be pushed into corners that they don't want to be because of choices that they made, circumstances too. So I suggest that there's only two.
I want my princess phone.
Yeah, I got a basketball phone. I remember having a phone that was a piano. Yep.
I remember the race and the elbows. Get away, I'm getting the phone.
I remember the party line.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the gossipy lady down the road. There was always a gossipy lady down the road that you'd hear this click. It's like, old lady got phone.
Get out the phone. I'm talking to somebody. I know you're still there. Yeah, things have changed. Vehicles now, instead of just going 100,000 miles and having to get a vehicle rebuilt, motor rebuilt, now they're going 300,000 miles, 400,000. Some of these Toyotas are going 500,000, depending on how you treat them. That just wasn't an option whenever in the 60s and the 50s and the 70s. It just wasn't an option. Those vehicles didn't last very long. You would have to rebuild the motor and go on down a little further, get another 60,000 out of it. So certain things, and I think we're hitting a level of where the profit is not high enough for the people that are greedy that own these big car companies. So and they're not allowing other companies to come in. So you end up with these cars that are not worth very much. Front wheel drive I think was a big mistake. I can't think of very many front wheel drive vehicles that have been made that are collectible. So yeah, there's things that changed. Furniture is not as high quality as it used to be.
There's not much that's as high quality.
So mobile homes are something you should consider. I also think that if you are going to reduce your income, start looking at property. Say if you're going to retire, why would you want to stay in the same area?
Go to a cheap place.
Sell off your property that you have. Move to a place where nobody can work. Perfect place to buy a cheap home. I'm seeing houses that
15
and 20,000. That's Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas too. But you got to go to these places where the jobs are not, they're not there. And if they are there, you're gonna have to drive. And people don't want to drive, so they move into town. So low, inexpensive homes are out there by the droves. There's tons of people that go around showing you what the population has been falling off ever since this day, and now it's down to 1,500 or even 300 or even 100 people or even 50 people, where it used to be several thousand, and all the buildings are falling in because nobody is wanting to do anything with them. Those places can be purchased, and you can live there. The improvements can be made. You can live there. So I tell my boys that there's tons of property around here that they can purchase. If they just send their, instead of, spending money at those high dollar places that they live in town. I think Drew lives outside of Seattle and Clay lives in Denver area. High dollar stuff, high dollar stuff. So they just rent a room or bedroom. Well, they can send the rest of their money to purchase a place in a rural Oklahoma town or a rural Arkansas town for 1/20th or 20% of what it costs in Denver, maybe less than that. So, I think that low-cost housing is going to be a very serious thing. If it isn't already massively serious now, you're going to want to pay attention to mobile homes and little houses, portable buildings that people live in, the smaller homes. We're going to go back to that. It just costs too much to get the elaborately fancy cars. So people are going to, vehicles that are smaller and get better gas mileage, and people are going to move to houses that take less. So we need to start thinking about that, especially if we're going to reduce our income because we're not working anymore, or because we got hurt, or because we are in a divorce. Don't wait until the boat sinks to get off. Get off the boat. Take your income and however limited it is, take whatever equity you get from your home selling and purchase something low cost. And I suggest to you that mobile homes are a very, very good choice. If you put your money in a bank, in a savings account, you're going to get what, 3% now?
I think it's 1.5.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's 1.5. I could be wrong.
We'll just say the 3%. If you put your money into a mobile home rental, you're going to get more than 3% on your money. Way more. Of course, you'll have to expend some, so just keep some back in reserve for that case.
Savings is 0.45%.
0.45?
5.
Less than 1%?
Mm-hmm. The national average savings account rate stands at 0.45%.
So what is the CD? 6-month CD or 1-year CD? Certificate of deposit? Probably about 3 or 4.
CD interest rates. 5%.
Okay, 5. Promise you. That would mean that if you spent $75,000, you would get $3,500 a year. But if you spent $75,000 on the putting in the utilities, buying a mobile home, and then renting it after you fixed it, spend $75,000, you'd be getting minimum of $600 a month, and that's in a very rural area. $600 a month times 12 months is $7,200. That's very, very low rent now. Okay? Something to think about. I think I'd like to talk more also about the mobile home, or the places to park mobile homes and campers, mobile home parks. I'm seeing some things around this northwest Arkansas area. I think there's.
Diane's saying, I'm not sure where Diane lives.
Outside of Atlanta.
$110,000.
That's
for her house.
Yeah. She got a pretty small one, didn't you, Diane? You didn't get a big one, did you? Yeah, I'm pretty sure she got a small one. And she shopped really good. So there's a point where we all have to make these decisions, and really people that live in third world countries, when they show pictures of them, they're like, hey, we're happy. They're not unhappy. 1/3 of the world, they find ways to be happy.
Yes.
We are spoiled here by all the elaborate things that we have for toys and vehicles and homes and furniture and clothes. percentages of our life and the time we spend on screens, we take that as something that we have to have, or we're just depressed, going to take our life because we don't have those things anymore.
I do a lot of trying to get the hell away from that phone.
So I would suggest that we start looking into less expensive homes. They can't do that in Hawaii unless they start going into little houses like portable buildings and building houses. There, they don't have the lumber as easily available. Same with West Virginia and Tennessee and Alabama and all that. Those people need to start looking at little homes. I know that there's a lot of cities that are resisting them building because they don't like portable buildings for people to live in.
Oh no, her house is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single garage. That's not little.
Well, it depends on how big all the bedrooms are and all that.
3-bedroom, 2-bath is not little.
No, she's not. No, she got a good deal. So I suggest that in the future, little homes are going to be a massive increase. I've worked on a lot of them, and they're really neat what they do, and as they can afford it, they add on to it. They spend a lot more time outside, porches, screened-in porches, garage, a nice yard, but it's something they can afford in a rural area. And usually you see a small car so they can drive into town. Might be an hour drive or more.
There isn't any nice parks out here. That kind of sucks.
Yeah. Well, she can get around. She can go see some things. Well, I know there's more for me to say. My thoughts are, as a repair person, I don't know why more people don't go into mobile. I know the big shots are, there's a guy over in Harrison that is just massive. He has 3 big mobile home parks, and he's just building one after another in different locations. He owns them all. He owns them. I'm saying there is no bank. He has enough money.
He is the bank.
He's got enough money coming in that he takes that money and buys some more property and does it again until the county just tired of it. So I think in the future you're going to see more and more of that. People that are building smaller homes that are lending themselves toward community base.
That's kind of what we're angling for.
I think so. So I would suggest that's what's coming up. And I think you should consider looking at smaller homes. And with that, I will say toodaloo. I hope everybody does well.
Talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week.